never even felt it, just felt like a log.
Just got heavy?
Yeah, well, dude, I've been catching so many rocks and sticks that they're so cold. He was like, look, he doesn't even have it in the mouth. Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm out in the garage today standing over the boat. I got a really good question from a subscriber who wanted to know the difference between crankbait lips. There's so many different types of crankbaits on the market that it can get kind of overwhelming. You go into a tackle shop and you look at the baits, and it seems like every major company has, I don't know, 10 different crankbaits, let alone crankbaits that have different lips. So the question is, what are the different lips for? And you know, what is the differences between the lips? So I figured I'd come out and do a video just to kind of give a quick oversight as to the different types of crankbait lips and what makes them different, or you know, how those baits perform differently based on having different lips. So before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. And if you have subscribed to the channel and are watching the videos on a regular basis, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And like I said, this is all based on a subscriber question. So guys, if you have questions or things you want me to talk about, please let me know. It's great. I love having the questions, and it kind of encourages me to continue doing these videos. So let's get into it. So the different types of crankbaits that are on the market, different bills. The most common is your round bills. So in this case, you know, this is a dredger. It's got a round bill on it. Pretty much round bills will come from everything that run from 0 feet of water all the way down to 25, 30 foot of water. They're the most standard bill. They're kind of the best of both worlds in that they run deeper and they get you good wobble. They're not quite as weedless as some of the other bills, but they're the most common because they kind of do everything. So, you know, a couple of things you want to realize when you're looking at a round bill. So in this case, a lot of the newer baits on the market that are meant to dive deep will actually have some form of weight in the bill, and that allows the bait to start diving immediately and get down to its maximum diving depth fast. You know, a lot of times with crankbaits, one of the biggest things is your bait is really only in the strike zone for a small portion of your cast. So the faster a bait gets to that depth, the longer your cast is in the right strike zone. So, you know, a lot of companies you'll see now with their deeper divers are going with some form of weight in the diving lip to get you down. Now they all don't have that. You know, if you're really trying to get into that upper teens into the 20-foot range, that's when you'll start seeing the weights included in the lip itself. But one thing I want to point out, so normally the wider the bill, so this way, the wider the wobble of the bait. You know, you'll see a lot of thinner models, like these are, so this is a Rapala Shad Wrap. That's a Berkeley Flicker Shad. Two of the probably most popular thin-lipped, kind of more finesse-y style baits because they don't wobble much. They're really a tight wobbling bait, and they excel in cooler water temperatures, and they're really, really good, like all species baits. I mean, if you were to pick a bait that's probably caught more bass and more walleye out of every bait that's ever been produced, these two baits are probably it. I mean, it's unbelievable how many fish of all species have been caught on them. But the thing I'm pointing out is how narrow the lips are. You know, they're long and thin. And because of that, you get a nice compact wobble. They're not real wide wobbling baits, whereas something like this dredger with a much wider wobble or a much wider lip will be a wider wobbling bait. So, you know, as a rule of thumb, generally, the colder the water, the tighter the wobble you want. You know, I think like a bait like this will excel more in that ledge season post-spawn bite. These are more kind of cold water, more finesse style crankbaits. But those are both different forms of round lip baits. So the next common type of crankbait lip is your square bill. So this is a square bowl by Berkley. You can see the lip is squared off. There's lots of different kind of variations. This is a custom RP. It's a little wider lip, much kind of sharper corners. The key to a square bill is that they deflect off cover grade. They are probably the most popular bait for using around shallow cover. So if you're fishing riprap, laydowns, around docks, any form of structure or cover, you probably should choose a square bill. And the reason for that is when the bill hits, it wants to like roll the whole body. Like the body will actually turn up. A lot of times they'll come over the cover actually on their back. And when that happens, it moves the hooks away from the cover. That's what makes them such great cover baits. That's why you can fish them through a laydown. You can fish them around rock and not get snagged nearly as much as you would with a round bill lip. With a round bill lip, when it hits the cover, it will just slowly roll into that cover and the hook will catch at that point. The square bill will hit and actually rotate the bait up and keep the hooks away from the cover. So that's the biggest difference. And because of that, they excel in shallow water cover. The majority of square bills you're gonna see are probably running about 8 foot or less. The majority are more in that 4 to 6 foot range. So they're great shallow water crankbaits. And come in lots of different variations. You can get deeper running ones, but for the most part at that point, you're kind of switching over to your round bills. The next up, you've got your coffin style. So a coffin style lip has these cut corners. It's really a hybrid between a round bill and a square bill. And the nice thing about a coffin bill, and this is the Fritz side, and it's one reason it's so popular, is it has the best of both worlds. A coffin bill will run deeper than a square bill, but because of the corners, it still deflects and really wants to roll over obstructions. So it's a relatively weedless crankbait, but still gets good depth. And I think that's one reason this is such a popular crankbait right now. I think you're going to continue to see a lot of crankbaits kind of go into that coffin bill style in the future. So once we've gone from that, then we have our wake bait bills. So a wake bait bill, so this is the wake bowl, they're usually just a squared off piece that are put at a much more perpendicular angle to the bait. They're not, this bait is not made to run deep. The idea behind this bait is to keep it on the surface. So when the water hits the bill, the bait doesn't want to dive down. The bait wants to just get pushed side to side, and therefore it wakes on the surface. And that's the whole idea behind it. So you'll see, you know, this is another custom bait I've got. The bills are very much up and down, and they really are just meant to kind of wobble right on the surface. You can get, you know, a lot of different variations. You can get round bills. The round bills generally will dive a little deeper. Now keep in mind, if it's still a perpendicular bill, a round bill might get down to 2 feet max depth, whereas a square bill will get down to a foot. On a slow retrieve for both, they'll still stay right on the surface. So if you see a bill like that, it's not gonna dive deep at all. Another type of newer bill lately is this curved bill, kind of big cup lip. This is a Rapala scatter series bait. We're starting to see more baits like this on the market. The one thing I'm gonna point out with this, so the idea behind the scatter wrap series, or these bills, are that they want to impart erratic action on their own on the retrieve. So this bait will kind of hunt on its own on a straight retrieve. Because of that, you don't really want to put action into the bait. You don't really want to stop and go with it or kind of twitch the rod. let the bait work itself, and this bait will kind of swim all over the place. That's one of the nice things about it. It's a good crankbait for beginners who don't really have a good feeling for what the bottom feels like. And it catches, it's a great bait. It catches a lot of fish. It's just it's a different type of bill that takes a little getting used to. But I do think we're going to see more bills like this on the market in the future. So the last thing that I want to talk about are our circuit board lips. So I've got a couple of customs here again. We don't see many mass-produced baits with the circuit board material. I'm not exactly sure why that is. You can get a few out on the market, but the key, or when you see a circuit board lip, the thing to know about them is they flex a little bit. So when this bait is coming through cover and it hits, say, a rock, the bill flexes, and therefore it doesn't deflect and bounce off of it as other crankbaits would. It'll hit it and kind of flex and kind of load up and then come over it. Because of that, it's a good bait to use if you're fishing a really pressured body of water, because it's something the fish don't see that much, and it's got a completely different action. So when this bait, kind of flexes and loads up and then pops free, it creates really good reaction strikes and is a good bait to use, again, in tough situations or cold water situations. And you can get circuit board lips. Here's another, that square bill I showed you before. You can really get a circuit board lip in pretty much every lip variation. It's just a different material that creates a different motion for that same crankbait. So, this is the same. These are two custom RP baits. They're the same bait, they just have different lip style. Coffin lip, circuit board square bill. This one will dive a little bit deeper. This one will have a little bit different deflection than the square bill would. So guys, those are the variations. I mean, there's a few other custom versions out there of lips, but they're so few and far between that I don't feel like it, I'm not get into them at this point. But those are the variations. So when you guys go out to the bait shop and you see all these different crankbaits, the first thing you should look at is the lip. The lip is going to tell you what type of bait that is. And from there, then, if you're going to be fishing shallow, say 5 feet or less, you're probably going to want a square bill or a coffin bill style. And then from that standpoint, then start looking for your bait in the color that you want, or whether it's got rattles or no rattles. That's how at least I approach buying crankbaits. So I hope this was helpful, guys. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, share it. And if you've got other lips or variations and you want to leave a comment, please do so, guys. Like I've said before, it's great to have comments because all of us are going to learn from it. Not just myself, but all of the other subscribers as well. So thanks for joining me, guys.